All right, four.
We are in session. Who E is. Oh, Elizabeth, that's Elizabeth. I couldn't figure out who the E was. It's Elizabeth.
I'll sit in the night. Sit in one of the chairs. Yeah.
Hello.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
A little table room.
Oh, we got plenty of space here.
Okay.
No. Scoot all around. Come on.
You're gonna take some of the table whether you want it or not.
Well, thank you.
Okay, are we ready to get going? Call the meeting to order. And we need to approve the minutes. So if anyone has read them or if you want to take a minute, motion to approve.
Got moved to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Second, thanks, Patrick. Okay, and we have a visitor here today. Hi, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Hi. First, can I just have a quick, official, congratulations, Laura Arnold.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Jennifer. Hi.
Hi.
You're right at the top.
Oh,
So are you okay with that?
I
Are you
am.
comfortable?
I just, I'm picking up a lot of trash in Webster, and I'm just wondering if we cannot do something about especially the thoroughfares like Marshall, Newport, Lockwood. These are transitory roads that people are taking, and I'm not saying it's all that, but I think they're getting more traffic, so we're seeing more trash. And two of those are entrees into my neighborhood, and surely we can come up with some method of keeping the trash out of the ducts for the water system. We've got so many streams in Webster. I just think it should be a priority. So that's one of my issues, is the trash. I think we need to have more trash cans in Webster. If you go along Webster University or even seminary, there's really nothing. So even if you have people who want to pick up the trash, unlike me, who carries it for miles with grocery bags, a lot of people don't want to do that. So I think we have to make it simpler and more accessible. So, and I'm sure we could get volunteers and do all that, but I'm just wondering if it's plausible. We have that street cleaner, which I haven't seen in a while.
It's been down.
Oh,
And we've been waiting on parts. You know how parts are to get parts.
gosh,
It's
yes,
crazy.
yeah. I don't know if it's possible or how much that costs to run that machine around the town, but
Mhm.
it's the cigarette butts that I see the
Yeah.
most of.
Yeah, our guy's pretty good at getting all that.
Yeah, but I just think more often.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. It may be
Yeah.
expensive. I don't know how much it costs to run that.
Well, it's expensive when it breaks down.
Mm.
It's not expensive really. I mean, the brooms are expensive because they wear out because they're metal. So they're rubbing on the asphalt streets and concrete streets and they're getting worn, and so we have to replace them.
So maybe that isn't the solution, but maybe we can come up with.
Well, it's the solution on
ideas.
getting the curb lines clean.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
And I don't know how we get people, I was just telling Mike that, people, if it hits the curb, forget about it. Nobody feels the responsibility at the curb of their house. If the
And-
Webster Kirkwood Times, which has been happening for years, throws that paper and it lands on the curb or the sidewalk, people are not picking them up. I mean, I brought with me 1 week's worth of, I walk 5 miles a day. These are all the red wrappers you can see in a week. That's just me. And I know the houses that do and don't read them. Just pick them, because I'm not trying all these papers in my basement to try and recycle them. I mean, so then, we have the carriers of the papers who are just dropping these parts all over the place. This is a holder for their bags. You'll find them all over, even in Webster Park. I mean, it doesn't matter what neighborhood, we're all getting affected by it. And these rubber bands, I mean, is anybody else seeing all the rubber bands on the sidewalks? They're from the postal workers. So is there any way we can, I don't mind picking them up, but I'm sure this is costing us all something. I just, something can be done. So I would like someone to, I called the Webster Kirkwood Times myself a few years ago, but they're so afraid of their carriers. At least that's how they sounded to me. It was like, oh, I can't tell them to do, I can't. I mean, so I was like, okay, I guess we'll just let the paper go because the paper is going to have to, it won't be viable. Once the advertisers figure out that people aren't reading this paper, unless they're just donating their money, they're not getting the reach that they think they are. I mean, does anybody agree with that at this table? I don't know. It's just me in my own head.
Well, I think it's hard to say because it's available electronically as well. So even though someone's not picking up the paper copy, it doesn't mean they're not reading it.
That's okay, but sustainability, what are we talking about? Now there's a
Right.
plastic wrap or plastic in the
Sure, of
environment and the
course,
paper
yeah.
that could be recycled. People just take it and chuck it in their recycle and
Of
that
course.
bag can't go.
Oh, no, no, I
anywhere.
totally agree with you. I'm just
Yeah.
talking about the idea that advertisers might not be getting the reach they think they are.
Well, if there's a lot of people going online specifically for that, our little paper, I think that's fantastic. I don't know who they are, and maybe they have numbers to prove that, but I am telling you, these papers are everywhere. So I think if you're being sustainable, that has to be addressed, and we can't be afraid of losing our newspaper or the carriers. I mean, I try to tell them, why don't they go to the Boy Scouts and get paper routes? I mean, I don't know what's available. I'm coming up with ideas to tell Webster Kirkwood Times, but I
Well,
mean,
you know, it is new ownership than a few years ago.
yes, it is.
So-
And I haven't called them.
So maybe they would be more open to.
I just don't
suggestions.
think me by myself is
Yeah.
gonna do much. That's how I feel.
Got it.
I mean, I can, and I could write an editorial in their own paper about. I don't think they're gonna work that, but
They might, you should do it.
to what end?
Well, seeing who else out there resonates with you.
I don't pick them up. I kick them into people's yards.
Well, see, you're one of the many.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
then when they cut their grass, they have to move it.
Yeah, so
They
they
probably
have
throw
to
it back
touch
out on
it
the sidewalk.
eventually.
I do chuck it
So
out
on my
there.
short route to
Yeah.
school, we kick everybody's paper up their driveway or into their yard. Like.
I do that too, except I see them laying
Community
there.
service. Mhm.
And then I know that the paper, which is easily recyclable, after it's wet, I'm really not sure if that's
No, you can't
recyclable.
recycle it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is the point. If they're gonna throw on a Thursday and it's gonna rain, we're-
Yeah.
I think there's a solution. I wish I would do it electronically, but I keep getting the paper, so I keep reading the paper.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe that's an option, or a subscription. Is that viable for them? Because that would give the paper to those people who really want it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is, when you first mentioned this, you talked about a lot of cigarette butts, but now we've been talking about the paper. Is it mostly the paper?
Well, I'm sure it's more cigarette butts than it is paper, but I'm just saying the papers are more sightly and look
They can see it
trashy
more. Mhm.
because they're bigger
The red wrapper.
and they're red. You know, there's no hiding it. But you can accumulate quite a few cigarette butts before anybody's gonna notice that there's crap at the curb.
Mhm.
And I don't know how you're gonna change a smoker. Maybe there's a way to do it to change that behavior of not thinking it's okay to just chuck their plastic filter out the window, which is right there next to a water intake.
Mhm. I've had a lot of thoughts about the trash because I'm a walker as well and I bring a bag and pick stuff up. But I don't know what the solution is, but I'm curious to have a conversation because I think that if we raise awareness of it and people, it becomes part of like our value set. I do wonder how that changes behaviors. You know, if it's just something, you know, city level or community level, more grassroots, I don't know what it is, but it crosses my mind all the time. And I do think, like, I have been tempted and I just haven't done it because I've written the WKT about other things. But to write about the, you know, just to ask people to help their neighbors out, to pick up their red paper and throw it onto their.
I don't, many of you are not old enough, but there used to be a commercial, maybe some of us remember, the Indian with the
Yes.
tear.
Well, there's a very interesting thing about that commercial. You know what I'm talking about, Jamie,
Yes, I
because
do.
I sent it to you. You know, back in the day, we thought that if you could just pick your trash up, that would solve the problem. But that's actually not the problem. The problem is generating the trash.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we could have a discussion with the Webster Kirkwood Times. I think you would find, though, that on the commission and probably throughout our community, the Webster Kirkwood Times does provide a service of like getting information out that so many communities do not have. So I think we're all very, like, we want to
One of your
help the
reader.
paper.
I agree. I don't want it to go away. I love the paper.
love
I read
the
it
paper.
every week.
But
I want
what
other
could
people
we
to read it.
do to solve this problem, I guess is the answer.
Mhm. I think more awareness. I mean, in my head, I keep picking up this trash because I think that if people, you get used to your surroundings, it's a human nature thing. So if you keep seeing all this trash, you begin to just not see it anymore. And I think that's what's happening. I think we aren't aware of, we think we're in Webster and we have such a clean place to live and it's so quaint and blah, 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 which it is. But it's got a trash problem, just like every place else. And I think we have to address it if that's important to us.
Shrewsbury recently did, like some citizens just decided to do like a trash cleanup day where they met at City Hall and then kind of went to the different exit ramps, because that's where we're seeing it really bad, is all of the trash that was gathered there, and they just gathered it up and then took it back and threw it in the city dumpsters of their own. And so that was, they had a lot of people come up and just took an hour in the morning.
Just to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
If we do clean up all these people's trash for them, doesn't that like let them
Well,
off?
that's what I was
You know what I mean?
wondering,
Like
if
that
there's a way to
doesn't change
promote,
their
like-
behavior. That just reinforces it. They get to throw trash on the ground and have a clean environment,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, what could happen with something like that is an audit,
Yeah.
like a trash audit, and then you're identifying what the pollution is. And that way you can at least put finger on not who is throwing it, but who is making it. Which could be an interesting conversation, but also I'm not, again, I am thinking without a filter here, like thinking out loud. I don't know what we would do as a commission with something like that, but it is something worth investigating, because I know trash everywhere. I mean, the trash has gotten worse everywhere nationally.
Littering tickets could be a revenue builder.
Oh, thank you. I would love to have cameras and find people.
I would love that at my house.
I just am wondering if waste management can't be, you were talking about, yes, I agree with you, if you put it in the proper place to begin with, and we all know that very little 1% or whatever of our plastic is actually getting recycled, but it's the habit. We have to keep the habit, because someday, maybe somebody will think of a way to reuse that. But if we're just throwing all of it in landfill, there'll never be a chance for somebody to maybe take one of those blocks of plastic and use it for something. So I'm wondering if waste management can't, I mean, people don't know how to recycle. It's confusing. It's confusing to me, and I have an interest.
Yeah.
So we need a partner in trying to educate people. This compostable thing, I think, is another problem. We were talking about waste management does not have a compostable program in there. I've called them. They don't. They say, put it in the landfill. Well, there might be, I thought I had heard that St. Louis Composting has some of these venues. Maybe we're just not we're just going with the contract. I just like to add that I don't think everybody is paying for that contract in Webster, because I called on a neighbor, not to punish them, it was just to get them educated, because they were putting their recycle all in a bag and tying it up and throwing it, which is incorrect, which is they will go ahead and just throw the whole thing in landfill, because they're not gonna separate out who's not doing it correctly. And she just was like, well, that house does not show that they have service, and they had lived there for 4 years and they've been getting service. So just a heads up, I think there's some people in Webster who are not on the contract.
There are several.
Okay, we need to change
We
that.
know of that. The waste management has been going after people.
Oh, really?
And
Because,
people come after the city saying that's ridiculous that we have to sign up with them. Well, sorry. then
send
move out
them,
of the
send
city.
them to me. I'll talk to them. I mean, because he was saying to me, well, my mother lives in Chesterfield and she gets a separate bill for her trash collection. I said, you should be getting one too.
Yeah.
I mean, but
every
they're
3
not,
months.
yeah, they're not on the list apparently, but they're getting the
So
pickup.
why are they picking it up then?
I think they're on the street and they got the cans and they just come down. I don't know how they got the cans.
Because usually the drivers have it in their computer that this one is not paying, skip them. And then they call and say they're not picking up my trash. Well, you're not paying your bill.
Well, then how are they not?
That's how they catch them.
Oh, that's how they catch it. Well, I can only tell you, very nice couple, but I just wanted to throw that out there that I think that might be going on.
I know it is.
Okay. But somehow, and you know, these are people with children. I know they care, they're putting out, but how do you get them? And now he's putting it in some sort of blue bag, and I'm wondering if it's not a compostable bag that I guess he doesn't want to touch his recycle. I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on, but those are all behaviors which I don't think you're gonna change in everybody. We
No.
can just try to get the biggest bulk, right? It's not everybody we're trying to change.
Yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement in recycling. This commission has looked at it from multiple angles on how we can help move the needle. We, in 2019, wrote a grant to reduce and raise awareness around plastic bags. And because of the pandemic, we've kicked that down the road a little bit, but we'll be handing those up this summer, and we have some awareness to raise. And that's why Miss Jenny is here to talk to us a little bit today about our Webster on Wheels. That'll be our first event that we get to hand those out. There's a lot of work to do.
Could I suggest going through the schools? I really think that to reach at least a percentage, I think that through the schools is a good idea, because all those children, I think you can get them all energized about recycling and taking care of the earth, and you know what I'm saying? So just a suggestion.
I think some of that's going on actually already.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the high school has a club.
Yeah.
Environmental club. I think the middle school does as well.
Yeah, if you go by, at least Avery, I'm thinking of Avery, there's a lot of trash out on the curb, lots of cigarette butts, which, okay, but.
That's probably not coming from the kids.
No, I don't think it
I was gonna say, I
is.
hope
The
those kids aren't
parents of the
No,
kids.
they're all-
which I
they're all
think is much better. So anyway, I think that if it is going on at the high school, maybe we need to get it out to the grade school level, or, you know, that'd be great.
That's how I got my parents to quit smoking in grade school.
I got my mom to quit smoking by
Nice.
harassing her based
That's what I
on
did,
a
based on what
pamphlet I
they did
saw
in
at the
school.
doc.
Yeah.
Mine was at the doctor's
Well, I said, don't
office.
you want to be around to see your grandkids? And that's it, they quit smoking.
Well, if it worked, good for you.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer, really thank you for caring enough to come and talk with us and share this with us. This is definitely something that we have a sustainability plan that was recently introduced to council. It is not adopted as of yet, but my fingers are crossed. Our fingers are crossed. And that recycling and other trash issues are part of that.
The new mayor's gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make everything.
We're gonna have a chat with our new mayor.
It's gonna be like Santa Claus.
You're giving me superpowers there? Yeah.
First 100 days.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm gonna make it happen fast.
Yeah. So, thank you.
And I just want to, there used to be a company up in North County that used to recycle styrofoam, which is a horrible.
Yes,
Mhm.
Do you know who I'm talking
they went out of
about?
business. Yeah.
Did they go out of business, or he just stopped collecting from the
I think they
public?
went out of business.
Oh,
Yeah, because when I was at Kirkwood, I was using them for our styrofoam. I went and got a tour of their plant and everything. It was cool how they did it.
oh, the last time I dropped off there, I think it was in October. Is that this company?
They got EPC or something like that was the name of them.
Foam,
EPC styrofoam.
I think this is a different company.
No.
Foam something
I
incorporated,
don't know that.
but he stopped picking it up too, but here's what I'd like to just throw, and then I'll stop talking. Is that maybe if, I think he got irritated because they would put these plastic bins out there and people would just come and put it in at will. And it just kind of got all out of the bins and it was
Right.
blowing around. Maybe that's something they were having a problem with, but I'm just wondering if cities can't start. I know there was a glass collection at one time that was talked about doing, because you do find glass bottles all over the broken on the curbs all over. Maybe we can start working with community locations to kind of get it contained, and then, you know what I'm saying, just make it an easier transfer to that facility if they're willing to work with us.
Yes, we put in for a grant for glass recycling and the St. Louis County shot it down
Okay, that's what I had heard about that.
because they didn't want us to do it. Because they said, oh no, we can't let you guys do that because that'll start it for everybody. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point.
Was that a while ago that you tried? Is it
That
time
was
to?
2 years, 3 years ago.
Well, maybe our.
We had
our
a, and
new
we had
mayor-
a,
our
we
new
had
mayor
a
can
glass
run that on a
recycler that was on
flagpole.
board, willing to pay us top dollar, and we're like,
Oh.
we're gonna make a fortune off of it. And the St. Louis County shot it down.
Hmm.
County, who's supposed to be recycling prone, you know, and they shot it down. We sat in a board meeting and they, nope, not gonna let you do it.
And
The
we-
haulers want it out of there because they're having to pay by the ton. Glass is the heaviest recyclable material. They have to pay by the ton to dump the recycling. Used to be they got paid for the recycling, now they have to pay to get rid of it.
So what would that look like, Todd, if we did have it? Would there be a couple of like receptacles around
We were,
town for it?
we were just gonna have one drop off location. And it was gonna be a enclosed dumpster with window, sliding open windows where you throw it in. Problem was it was gonna have to be monitored because people were gonna illegally dump trash into it. So we were gonna have to have somebody down there monitoring it all the time, which was gonna cost us a lot of money. I think that's another reason why they shut it down, because that's too expensive for the grant, whatever.
Well, I think there's some creative solution out there somewhere. And hopefully in the next few months, assuming the sustainability fee gets adopted, we can look at this and see it. Even if it doesn't get adopted, this is something that the commission can look at.
Okay, great.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for sharing with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate you being here. All right. We are moving on to old business then. So we have our Webster on Wheels coming up in 2 weeks. Paul and Amna have been really great working with Dave and his crew. And you all have an update with that. And then I want to chat with Jenny about some marketing ideas.
I have a few things. I don't know if you want me to.
I'm so behind on everything, yeah.
Okay. So we one of the issues is, one of the things is refreshments after the ride. So what, I don't know how much up to speed you are on this, Todd, but what has been suggested, or what Dave wants to do, is snow cones, which I think this came up in our last meeting. I thought was a good idea. And the question was, can we do snow cones in paper cups and rather than sort of plastic? And I think that's the right approach, my perspective on that. Kona Ice asked if they could do their special kind of color changing cups, which the kids love. And that's kind of up to us to make a recommendation on that. Dave's looking for that. If anyone has any objections to that, to using to Kona Ice offering those cups.
Well, I'll put my party pooper hat on, which is the role in my house. And I know that kids love those, but they love those for a moment and then they sit in a drawer. I would just rather see less plastic at an event like this and go with paper. So that's my 2 cents.
No, I mean, I'm certainly fine with that approach from my perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
So just to take a step back, so there's a final organizational meeting for Webster on Wheels on Thursday evening this week. So what, I don't know if you're gonna be able to make it, Todd, this week.
I'm gonna try to be.
Okay. So we just need to get back to Dave really by Thursday on these issues. So the other snack is a cookie, which is coming from, I forget the vendor, but they're making bicycle shaped ice cookies. And the choice there is between an allegedly compostable plastic bag for the cookies or a paper bag, and the vendor will do either. So
I would say paper.
yeah, paper. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So we have
You
consensus
have to
on
use the word
paper.
allegedly. then.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and it has to
Well
go,
played,
it
Paul.
has to go into a composting
the problem.
situation.
And will people
Right.
even know that it's
Industrial.
degradable?
No,
Yeah,
right,
industrial, yeah.
Right.
So there's a comment.
Yeah.
Paper is also compostable.
Right. Tab, will you check that comment, please?
Oh, yeah, chat.
No adding another cup to drop.
Thanks,
Thanks,
You,
Elizabeth.
Thanks,
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Okay.
The big
Um,
question is, will they even need to use electricity to make the ice if it stays this cold? It might be super sustainable. if It's 28 degrees.
Right.
So a couple other things on this, if I can continue. So on the refreshment station, which is going to be at the high school, which is about mile 4 in the route, but it's a 5-mile route, so it's not a huge long ride. So it's toward the end. What we would like to do is, and I think you were there at the meeting, Tom, when we initially talked about this, was provide like big Gatorade coolers of water and potentially Gatorade as well. And so I think Dave's looking for us to be, or you through the city to provide those. Is that something we can?
Yeah, I have a couple of them I can go with the street department uses.
Yeah. Then, let's see. And I think the other thing that Dave was looking for help from the city was maybe some traffic cones to help if there are any available that can be used to mark some of the busier intersections, just to kind of help give drivers a heads up. It will be manned by or personed by volunteers at, for example, like the Rock Hill and Bristol intersection. Well, not Rock Hill and Bristol, but Rock
Does he know
Hill.
about how many he's gonna need?
He was hoping for, I think, about a dozen.
That's it? I thought he was gonna say like
Don't
100.
talk him into.
I was gonna say
more.
like 100.
Well, he'll tell you on Thursday.
I can see when I can get it.
Oh, no, sorry, 30, 3 dozen.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 dozen, ideally. And Ron is happy to store them at the hub. If they can be delivered, he can keep them safe. And then he will get them out to the relevant intersections. So,
I'm getting to on that Friday.
so those are sort of the practical issues in terms of sort of getting some city help on a couple of these things.
Mhm.
And then, we talked, Anna, about doing a table and distributing the bags. And I don't know exactly what that looks like. I mean, we need to kind of get together and figure that out. But any suggestions are welcome from anyone else.
I, to go with our bag reduction awareness, I reached out to the county and, I don't know if you all have seen their ball of bags at various events prior to pandemic. But they have what is the annual consumption of a typical household, ball of bags, plastic bags. And it's this large guy called Bob. And they also have a wheel of recycling. So it helps people, like, it makes the table more approachable, interactive. I'm gonna pick it up on Friday, the 29th, if, right, that's the 29th, yeah. We can decide if we, how we wanna do that. But I thought, any tools that we can borrow from the county would be beneficial. I think.
That's great,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
sounds great.
So, we have that.
Great.
Um,
Oh, go ahead, Tim.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in terms of sort of staffing the table, I'm volunteering all day. Anyone else is welcome to certainly join, really, whenever they want to.
What are the
Great.
times again, Paul?
So I think I'll confirm, but it kicks off around 2,
The signs say 1:30 to 4:30.
1:30 to 4:30, okay. So I think the ride will actually start at 2 or 2:30, and then there'll be a sort of an hour afterwards. There's a stunt cycling team coming to provide entertainment. There's sort of an hour-long period beforehand where kids can decorate their bikes and that kind of stuff. So.
Dave, not surprisingly, has been very conscientious about what he's offering to people to make sure that things are sustainable. So that I really appreciate him with working with the food and the beverages, so we don't have bottled waters there. And there was one more thing. Oh, he was very worried about like the decorations. So I think this is going to be kind of exciting because we can almost, it's a pilot year, right, to figure out this, but this is a really great step towards zero waste events and teaching our community that we can do things like this without creating more trash for the world and reducing the amount of plastic that we use, which I think is really critically important. So thank you guys for your work on this, you both for your work on this. It's really awesome. I'm excited. I plan to be there all day as well, the whole time. Also, I don't know if you knew this, but we have sustainability t-shirts. So I will make sure you get your t-shirt so you can rep. Who needs one? I think a lot of you guys do.
It's the ones from a couple years ago.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
blue ones.
The blue ones from.
We haven't really been able to be out in public, so.
Right.
Right. Right. So, So yeah, that we, if you want to rep, you can.
I'll give a quick update on the bike lanes.
Yes.
We have not been able to start them because the pavement's been too wet. All this rain we've been getting.
Yeah,
So we're behind the 8 ball right now.
I know. I walked this morning and I was like.
Yeah, it's too damp to put down the material.
What does the forecast look like?
It's gonna rain tomorrow. It's gonna rain Thursday. So it's like every other day. It's like we can't get it.
Is there a backup plan?
There isn't.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the route won't change.
Yeah, the route
regardless.
won't change.
It's, we just,
It won't have the actual physical bike lane.
yeah, we were hoping
striped.
to have them, so. And we'd actually made a tweak to the route to include the.
Yeah, the north side.
include the north bit of Bompard to, because that was gonna be striped, but if it doesn't happen.
Just in case anyone germophobic, these are all allergy related.
Stop coughing on me. I'm sorry that you're suffering. It's horrible.
Did you have anything else on?
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much. And I hope everybody plans to cycle over. You guys can meet my bike, Mirabelle. So excited to introduce you to her.
You named your bike?
I did. She has a mirror and a bell, so her name is Mirabelle,
Okay.
also in Kanto. Okay. Jenny, so the marketing for the event, how's that going?
Dave sent, like, he's got these graphics kind of let down. He sent some instructions as to when he wants different things to head out.
Great.
I'd be willing to do some additional like social media posts, I think. Using like some of those, here's the importance of using reusable bags. Here's what happens if there's too many, doing that kind of stuff leading up. So I might steal one of those bags, do some photos or something like that.
All downstairs.
That would be
You've seen the
really-
boxes down there.
I did see the boxes
elevator.
down there. That's what somebody tried to tell me to do something with them. I'm like, I don't think those are mine. What did I order?
I don't want
Who
them.
told you to do
know.
something? Who
Yeah.
told you to do something?
They were just like, what are those bags that you ordered? When are you gonna get rid of them? And I was like, I didn't order bags. Who said I did? Check the receipts. Then we found out what they're for. So yeah, so I'll snag one of them and do some photos, maybe just somebody around town or.
Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to chat
Yeah.
with you about. Like, I think it would be, if it's possible to like say, like, come and see the Sustainability
Yeah.
Commission and
I can
come and
definitely
get your
do that.
bag, because I want people to be able, like, I'm sure they're all gonna be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
But I think it would be fun, like the stop motion, like it's all like balled up and then we can like open it up. Can we do things like that? Can we do that?
I'll have to see. You know, a lot of stuff going on. so I'll have to
Okay,
see,
all right, well,
yeah.
I can help.
Okay, okay.
All right, pull me
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, we can figure something out. Nice little things, yeah.
awesome, thank you
'Cause
very
I think
much.
just reminding people,
Yeah.
especially.
Little
I have
some
like a
facts
little
and,
reusable bag that I just keep in my car all the time.
Yeah.
That I got at Aldi, that I just have to remember to like bring with me when I go in stores. And it's, when you do, it's like, oh, this is so nice. don't
I
have to-
always have two in my purse and people are marvel.
Yeah.
They're very sturdy and they make their,
Switch into
they,
their-
they
yeah.
make, they get down very small and the cashiers are always like, oh, that's awesome,
Yeah.
where'd you get that?
you're a magician.
Yeah.
That's why we went with the bagito, because they got
Yeah,
all
because it folds down.
tiny.
Yep. Mhm.
You're so smart. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome, thank you
No problem.
very much. I'll just email you later and
Yeah.
annoy you and ask you for
Oh,
stuff.
you're never
Okay,
annoying.
okay, thanks. Okay, are we good then for
That's
Webster?
not what she told me.
What did you say, Todd?
I said, that's not what Jenny tells me.
Okay, the Green Cities Challenge, y'all. Thank you. No.
Fill me in on
Yeah,
what
well,
it
this is,
is.
yeah, we have a few minutes on this. Thank you, Jenny.
Thanks.
Okay, Jeff and Todd and I sat in on the launch meeting run by Jean Ponzi. Green Cities Challenge, to refresh everyone, is run out of Earth Waste Center and out of the Green Business Challenge, and the cities there's some mid-county cities that are participating as well, and it looks like there might be a really cool opportunity with those folks for us to collaborate. This is where the sustainability plan came from last year, if you'll remember, through Collinsville, that connection. And so Jeff and I have had a conversation about what we might want to see for this coming challenge.
and where we might want to take this. And I have identified like two paths that we could look into, and we could consider doing both. I think we definitely should strongly consider doing both. One of them is getting our greenhouse gas emissions back into portfolio manager. Eric Luters, who used to be the chair of the commission while back, he in, I think, 2018, and John, help me remember this if you remember anything. I think it was 2018.
Yeah, it was, I think it was that year. It was
Yeah.
the second year we were doing it. He was
Okay.
putting it into, that's a program that he uses in his work.
Yes, and that is a program. Jeff and I actually met with Eric last fall, I think, to talk about how to get into portfolio manager. So he gave us kind of the admin info so we could pop back in there. We just had, and Eric got it really, I think, if memory serves, and Jeff, help me remember this if you do, like how far back he was able to get those. Do you remember? No? Okay. So we'll pop in there to see, but I would like to, because we can't change, well, it's hard to change things that you can't measure. So getting all of our bills popped into, all of our utility usage popped into this can help us identify, some strategies and then measure if we're able to make a meaningful
Are
reduction.
you talking city buildings or?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm just looking and they have this green biz tracker that looks like maybe it tracks things from companies that are in the city. Do you know
Yeah.
about this?
So the Green Biz Tracker is new this year for Green Cities Challenge, and they're using this as a way to gather data and share data. Jeff, do you remember much about the green? Remember Jean couldn't get into.
I remember.
Just
that-
mentioned it.
Yeah.
There wasn't much of a demo.
Yeah.
You said that's gonna be coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that'll be interesting to see how we can utilize that. But Portfolio Manager is the platform that the city is using. And if anybody's paid attention to the city of St. Louis, they have buildings that are a certain square footage. Have you been paying attention to this? You wanna speak to
Actually,
it?
yeah, and I had a meeting with Emily from USGBC and maybe one of these days she would want to come and talk about kind of what this program does,
Yeah,
whether we would.
Portfolio Manager or
Yeah, there's actually another name for it, and I'm blanking on the name, but it is that. It's kind of bringing all the energy data into one place so they can measure it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, John.
I'll talk to her. I talked to her about, would you want to do this? She said, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
I listened into a webinar that she ran for when this launched in the city, because I was just curious, got nothing else to do. It's really fascinating though, what they're doing. And what they're basically doing is holding the building owners responsible for reducing their energy usage. And they have given them markers and then in a certain number of years to make improvements. And then after that number of years, you will be fined if you don't bring your energy usage down. So it's really holding people accountable for making better decisions in their energy practices and building practices. So that is one thing I think we might want to consider for us, and that is super data driven. Definitely my discomfort zone, but I'm willing to learn. So I think that would be really cool for us to kind of stretch a little bit and hop in on that. Jeff has agreed to be on this subcommittee, but I am looking for maybe my builders, if you have space. Okay. So that we can, you can help a little bit with that kind of angle. Or that path. The other pathway that I'm really curious to explore is more of a collaboration, and that is with Clayton, Maplewood, and there's one more in this
Brentwood.
Brentwood, thank you, Brentwood, in this mid-county sustainability consortium, yes. And so they've had a couple of meetings. And I asked in that Zoom that we were all on if Webster could talk with them as well. And I think that is very interesting at the same time that the county has hired somebody as a sustainability director. So I do feel like it might be time for, you know, some more cross collaboration to see what we can do to get our region to act more quickly with the sense of emergency that we're actually living in right now when it comes to climate. So that is the update for Green Cities Challenge. I think what we'll do coming out of this meeting is in May at some point, May or early June, have a well, maybe May. Sorry, guys. Again, I'm thinking out loud without much filter. But have a subcommittee meeting to really kind of lay out pathways and a schedule of how to move forward on both of these initiatives. So Jeff Mazur, Mike, you're cool to be a part of it. Okay, fabulous. And if anybody finds the consortium idea interesting, then let me know, or I will be reaching out to get some work going on that. So that's the challenge, the Green Cities Challenge update. Does anybody have any questions or anything to share?
So we would select one of these to pursue, correct?
I would like to do both because they're both so different.
Okay. Don't they have it's a scorecard though that we have to do?
So
correct?
that's where Biz Tracker comes in, and that's where I need to become a little more familiar with the Biz Tracker, because they kind of, the scorecard still exists, but the Biz Tracker is where she wants us to put our energy. So I don't think we're going to be bound to just do one thing. But maybe we are, I don't know. So I need to find out a little bit more information in order to answer that question. All right, we're good. Okay, new business. Shady Creek. We all talked about this a lot during the last year with the Douglas Hill development. And in my conversations I've had with council members over the last few months in developing the plan, Shady Creek seems to be a recurring theme. You know, they're curious, like everybody's paying attention to it now. How can, as a community, how can we make that not just something people drive by, but not that it necessarily needs to be a park or anything for humans, but how do we better manage or take care of or be in relation with that space? I know that Elizabeth has reached out to someone in the past, and Elizabeth, are you able to pop on real quick? Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi. Hey, can you remind me who you reached out to about Shady Creek?
I talked to someone from the Corps of Engineers when they first were starting to talk about the Douglas Hill, but nothing really since then.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks. I reached out to the Green Space Alliance Commission, and they are curious to talk about, you know, Shady Creek as well. That's something that's been on their radar. And then I reached out to, you all have heard of Missouri Clean Stream. Yeah, Clean Stream. Thank you. And somebody who lives back on Oak.
Yeah, there's a group of Oak residents
Yeah.
who have worked pretty significantly on at least their portion of Shady Creek.
Yeah. So I had a conversation with Liz, right?
Yeah, Liz James.
Yeah. And so she is also curious to come in and chat with us about what, you know, Shady Creek can be. And this is one of these like really long range, I think, projects, but a conversation that I think, you know, we might be able to pull some folks into, you know, community wide to the table together. You know, I know that there's like a nature group. Isn't there a nature group here in Webster?
There's a group called the Webster Groves Nature Study Society, but
Yes.
Interestingly enough, they're not totally focused on Webster Groves. Like it like started here,
Okay.
I think, but now it's sort of bigger than Webster Groves.
Okay.
Not to say they wouldn't be interested.
Sure.
but
Sure.
yeah.
Old Community Baptist Church is also interested in
Yeah.
thinking this through, they put in their garden a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Fabulous.
And so, clearly the congregation is interested in anything will, number one, help their flooding, but also just aesthetically and use. I know they're beginning to explore putting a playground on their church property,
Okay.
so, that would be another way to use some of the space along there.
Yeah.
Do you know David Wilson?
Mm-mm.
So David worked for East Wales Gateway
Mhm.
Council of Governments and
Mhm.
retired a few years ago. And he knows everything about waterways and watersheds in the St. Louis area, and he lives in Webster Groves. He's not in town right now,
Mhm.
but I would at least, I think it would be at least worth just chatting with him.
Okay. I just think this is one of these really fabulous opportunities for big community conversation. I'm not saying Sustainability Commission has to lead it. I'm just saying, like, here's an opportunity. Let's at least begin the ball rolling.
Well, and I will tell you, I have spent the last 10 days meeting with every council member about priorities and thinking about moving ahead on various projects. Going back to that site and having a general discussion about what we do in, both in terms of the issues with water, the issues with development, the issues with the current landlords. And so I think there'll be some direction from council within the next couple of months about how we're going to go forward. It won't be I can't speak for council. I would guess it's not going to be any sort of really big development plan. It'll be something much smaller scale.
Mhm.
But this certainly has to be part of that discussion.
And I just
Hey,
want-
Jamie, I just wanted to remind us, we had, at one point in time, we had talked about how Richmond Heights, was it Richmond Heights or Brentwood? Had
Brentwood.
recently, done had kind of revamped their floodplain and taken a lot of things out to just make it into a more natural floodplain. And I think it might be worth talking to Brentwood about how they came to that decision and how their costs worked out, or what, how they got there, since Shady Creek is right the precursor to that area.
That's really related to what I was gonna say, which is ultimately, we have to remember that being in relationship to that creek means being in relationship to every community that creek, that whose land brings into that creek. And so that might overlap even with this collaboration thing you're talking about, or, there's only so much we can do just right here, I guess,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're gonna wanna be thinking about how to spread out our,
Yeah, I mean, everything's
I'm gonna stop
connected.
talking now.
Everything's connected, right? Yeah.
The other thing is,
By
we know we
creeks.
have the
Yes.
Elm Culvert construction.
Mhm.
You're, I believe, working on potential grants for Gore Culvert,
Well, I'm working on getting a engineer involved for design of it first,
so that we know what it'll cost.
and then we'll go for the grant.
Yeah. So, I mean, those two are big components of what
Yes.
happens, and I don't
Yes.
know that we should get way out ahead of
They're
that
both-
construction.
They're both
Yeah.
undersized. That's
Yeah.
why it floods.
Exactly, well, right,
Because it chokes it down and it has to come out.
but too much planning before we understand the
Mhm.
effect, the impact of the change in the culverts is gonna
Yeah.
not suit us, I don't think.
Yeah, Laura, so I was
Go
gonna
on.
say, I think that just kind of logging the fact that this commission is committed to
Okay,
and interested in having that conversation and being a part of that, whatever that might be going forward. I just wanted to make sure that it just keeps popping up.
Yeah.
In my world, so I wanted to make sure that I shared it out.
keeps popping up in mine too.
With the group, yeah.
And it will.
And yours too.
Yeah. that's mine.
Yeah, but I will make sure in my report to council that I do stress that this is something that, however, whatever the next step is, this group wants to be involved in it and certainly is up for not necessarily leading it, but taking a lead
Being a
in.
part of the conversation.
Yeah, okay.
What's the timing on the Elm Culvert? Because I also brought it before.
So we put in an application and we should hear something back in November of whether we get the grant or not. And we told them that it's already designed, so that puts us ahead of everybody else.
Mhm.
So it's set for 2026, but we could possibly get it up to 2023.
Oh,
The Elm is that far down the line?
Yes, that's how far the federal government works. You
Boy,
put an application, it's 4 years out.
sorry, I thought it was
Yeah,
sooner.
no, that's not how the federal government
Yeah,
works.
so maybe we
You
don't
don't know
want
how the
to.
federal government works, Deborah?
Yeah, I actually do have a little idea about how the federal government works, but I thought we'd already put in for the stuff, so.
But we're thinking now that we'll get moved up because the design
Yeah.
is done. We only have one easement that we have to acquire, so that'll be quick and easy. And then
So
we'll be
our
ready for
hurdles
construction.
are few. Yeah,
Correct.
they're
So the
few.
construction can be moved up because a lot of times projects get delayed.
Yeah.
So then their money comes open because they're
Yeah.
delayed, so
Got it.
then we can move up. That's what we're hoping. will
Hoping
happen.
for, yeah.
Yes.
Seems like maybe one of the things that could be a good idea is to start to build the case for the creek. It's not being just the creek, but it is an entire watershed that encompasses a huge proportion of the community.
Mhm.
And coupled with that, actually, there are lots of communities out there who have taken places like Shady Creek and things that people previously thought of as drainage ditches and really turned them into wonderful places. There's lots of examples, some much bigger and some that size, but I mean, it is an opportunity, but it would take some forethought.
And keep in mind, a big chunk of this, we don't own as the city.
No.
Yeah,
A lot
so
of it
this
goes
is
through
where there are a
private
lot of private
A lot
Interesting.
of private entities
partners that
go
would
through.
have to be part of
Yes.
this,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. All right. Good stuff. I'm glad we're starting this conversation then. Okay, the next item on new business is the parade.
Should be here
Elizabeth,
before you know
I know. Do you
I
have?
I have no new update.
Okay. Okay, can I make you the sustainability point person then?
Yes, you can make me the point person for the parade. Did you hear me? Or did I cut out?
Elizabeth, I hear you, but the rest of the room is frozen.
Nobody else can.
Right.
All right, well, I guess we lost them. Well, maybe they'll make somebody else chair then. Point person for the parade.
Nope, looks like they're gone.
Okay, well, then I guess this is where we end. I guess we'll figure it out without us.
Yeah, right. All right, maybe I'll try back in 5 minutes.
There you go, sounds good. All right, well, I will see you later then, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Jamie Hassemir. April 18th, 1653. Jamie Hasemayer. April 18th, 1653. Ha 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 ha.